UFC Fight Night Seattle, Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer is right around the corner. It's on Saturday, so we're going to go through it and we're going to give my predictions for every single fight on the card. Normally, we take a little look at the cancelled bouts. There's a lot of them for this one. There's been a lot of changing around and whatnot. Mostly just disappointed to see Walter Walker is no longer on the card. What a shame. Walter Walker, one of my current favourite fighters. Just entertaining. Just entertaining. Outside and inside the cage. First fight of the night is Alexia Thayanara versus Bruna Brazil. We're going to go with Thayanara. I mean, they've done a dirty with the Tapology picture, as you can see. They've done a majorly dirty with the Tapology picture. But what you've got to consider also is that she does look like a man. And we're just going to go with who is more manly of the two. We're going to go with Alex Thayanara. On to the next one. It's probably a decision, right? It's women. On to the next one. We've got Ricky Simone versus Adrian Yanez. Bit more of a difficult one. I lean towards Ricky Simone just because he's been more active recently. I think Adrian Yanez, if I'm not mistaken, has been out for like just about a year, or just over a year, even a year and 3 months. So just over a year, whereas Ricky Simone, both coming off losses, don't get me wrong, but Ricky Simone been in there more recently. That could be a positive, that could be a negative. I don't really put a lot of stock in ring rust, but I do like momentum, and I think 2 wins, then a loss, and then getting back in there and trying to snatch it back is probably better for the mentality. Being like, oh no, I really need to score that back now, rather than. But then, taking a year off and being like, I need a reset, I'm going to come back into this fresh is also beneficial. I just lean towards Ricky Simone. More recently being in the cage for me means a lot more, even if it is on a loss. But we'll see if that theory holds true. So yeah, we're going to go with Ricky Simone. Again, I'm thinking it's going to be a decision. We're going to go with Ricky Simone by decision. Next fight is Navajo Sterling versus Bruno Lopez. We'll take a little bit of a closer look at this one. Now, we're going with Navajo Sterling, obviously. I feel like he's one of the locks of the card, right? Tapology completely agrees with me. We're split down the middle, more or less, for a knockout or a decision. Well, we'll just take a look inside of the UFC. We're getting quite a lot of decisions off the man, We're getting 3 decisions inside of the UFC proper. A knockout on Contender Series. That's how you get signed, though, innit? Chins. Maybe. Maybe. Getting bonked by Brenson Ribeiro isn't a good look, I'll be honest with you. We don't rate Brenson Ribeiro super highly. So getting bonked by Brenson Ribeiro and Dustin Jacoby, maybe there is potential for Navajo Sterling to actually chin him. Yeah, you know what? We're going to do it. We'll go with Navajo Sterling by knockout over Bruno Lopez. Quite confident in that one. On to the next one. We've got Casey O'Neill versus Gabriela Fernandez. You already know that we're biased on this channel. We're biased, and this fight is probably going to be near evens on the betting line anyway. It is near evens. Who are we saying? Yeah, well, I guess Tapology is biased as well. So we're going to go with Casey O'Neill because, UK fighter. We're biased on this channel. And it needs no other explanation. It's going to go to a decision. So we're going to go for a decision for Casey O'Neill. On to the next one. We've got Marcin Tybura versus Terrell Fortune. I don't know why Terrell's here, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know why he's here. So he's been signed to the UFC. He's new talent. He's been signed to the UFC. Brand spanking new guy. I say brand spanking new. He's 17-3 outside of the sport. But yeah, new sign to the UFC. A nice new heavyweight. They're trying to break him in. Why they give him Marcin Tybura? No idea. Marcin Tybura is like the gatekeeper of UFC heavyweight. Even though the division is so shallow, and awful, Marcin Tybura is actually the gatekeeper of UFC heavyweight. Because if he can't knock you out, which happens quite a lot of the time when he's put against these guys the UFC want to build, and so he'll just hug them and he'll just blob them, and he is the king of blobbing. He is the blob king. He will just blob you. If he can't chin you, he's just gonna blob you. He's like, oh, I'm not gonna tangle with that power. He'll just blob you. He'll just lay on you. make it a boring fight. But these heavyweights can't grapple. Once Ty Border's on top of you and he's got his fat fucking titties in your face, nothing you can do about it. So yeah, I think Marcin Tybura is probably going to lay all over Terrell. If I'm honest with you, I think that's how it's going to go down. And a lot of the time, even when like these guys come in, and it's not going to go down that way though, is it? And he's got a loss by his submission as well, so clearly grappling is his weakness. I don't know too much about Terrell Fortune. I just think it's a bad idea giving him Marcin Tybura. Like, take a look at the record, right? Tai Tuivasa blobbed him and then strangled him, yeah? Then he gets beaten by Sergey Spivak, who is decent. Like I say, he's the gatekeeper, right? Of a terrible division, but he's still a gatekeeper, right? Then you've got Jonathan Deniz, knocked him out, yeah? Mick Parkin, decision, not the worst. Big Mick, you know, it's Big Mick. We're biased on the channel, so we did pick Big Mick. But yeah, and then Ante Delija chins him, you know? So it's a strange one. It's a shame about Big Mick. I feel like Mick could have won that fight as well, but it is a shame. But yeah, and then loses to Delija, gets chinned by Delija. So, you know, sometimes when these guys have got hands, they can get in on Tybura and they can chin him, but a lot of the time Tybura just kind of resorts to blobbing you and laying on you and kind of sapping the strength from you, and it doesn't seem like Terrell's really going to have much of a way of stopping that. But you know what, we'll wait and see. It's Tybura though, and this is what he does best. He just takes a guy who's not really cut out for this yet, is not really ready for this yet, and he just blobs them. He just blobs them. So if Terrell lands a good shot and it doesn't put Tybura down, Tybura is going to blob him, and it's going to be a boring fight. But Tybura is going to get the decision from just laying on top of the guy, pity pattering and maybe threatening some submissions. Maybe he gets the sub, maybe he gets a ground and pound finish. But if I'm being honest with you, I think it's going to be a blobbing situation. How old is Terrell actually? Before we move on, how old is Terrell? 35, man. I suppose Tybura's 40. But all the same, it's a strange one, isn't it? 35-year-old Terrell Fortune. I don't know, man. I don't know. And he's been fighting where? Rough Nation. Lights Out. PFL. You know? Not the highest caliber of opponents either. Not the best of promotions, you know what I mean? Ooh, Lights Out in there? On to the next one. We've got Chase Hooper versus Lance Gibson Jr. I lean towards Chase Hooper for this one. I do. I know he lost his last fight against Alexander Hernandez, but we picked that. We picked Fluffy to beat him. We thought that was going to happen. Chase Hooper just wasn't ready for that. Wasn't ready for the high intensity output of Hernandez. He just wasn't ready for it. How he gets signed, gets into the UFC, loses to Bobby Green. We picked Bobby Green for this fight as well. We roll with Bobby. And you know what? I don't think he's going to do well against Chase Hooper either. I think, honestly, I think struggling against Bobby Green, I know it was a split decision, but I arguably it could have gone to Gibson as well. I don't think he's going to have an easier time with Chase Hooper. And if it can be that close with Bobby Green, I don't think you're going to have much of a chance there, Mr. Gibson. So we are going to go with Chase the Dream Hooper. Chasing that dream, man. Chasing that dream. I actually don't like Chase Hooper all that much, but you've got to give credit where it's due. You've got to give him his flowers. He is decent. He is decent. But now that he's been beaten by Fluffy, I can start to like him now. You know, now that he's been beaten by Fluffy, I can start to put aside my hatred for my unfounded hatred for Chase Hooper. Who did he beat? Who did I? You know what it was? It was Borshev. It was Vladislav Borshev. I thought Borshev would be able to tough it out, but no, he didn't. He got beat. But yeah, so I think from that moment, oh yeah, and he beat up Clay Guida. Yeah, I remember why. You know what? No, I don't like. Yeah, you know what? I don't like Chase Hooper. Look at these favourable matchups, man. No, I don't like Chase Hooper. Terrible. Anyway, Chase Hooper's probably going to win this one. Maybe I can start to like him. I don't know. I'll have to rethink about it. I'll have to think about it. Smashing up my boys like that. But yeah, Chase Hooper probably wins this one. I don't know. A decision. I can see a decision. Probably a decision, right? On to the next one. We've got Ignacio Bahamondes versus Tofik Musayev. That was a mouthful. We're going to go with Bahamondes. Again, Tofik. I don't know how to say it properly. But, you know, similar records, similar records. Ludovic Klein, not an amazing loss, to be honest with you. That's not very good on the record. But then, you know, that's also not very good, to be fair. Emmanuel Torres is alright. Jalen Turner, that's alright as well, to be fair. And then losing a decision to Fiziev isn't that bad. Realistically, Fiziev is pretty good. I could see it catching Bahamundes off guard. It did catch Bahamundes off guard. But I do lean towards Bahamundes. Just the quality of opponents, although not, you know, the best of the best, is still a pretty decent caliber. A pretty decent quality, pretty decent caliber. I combine the two words. A pretty decent caliber of opponents. Not the best of the best, but still a decent quality of opponents. And then, you know, coming into the UFC, we've been fighting in Bellator, then in Ryzen. Did okay in Ryzen, to be fair. They aren't terrible performances in Ryzen. That was 2 years ago, though. And then we get to the UFC. And then we lose to Majtbek Orbay. And Orbay is really good as well. It's a tough one. I'm leaning towards Ignacio Bahamundes. More proven inside the UFC. I've kind of just got to go with Bahamundes. And plus, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't want to be that guy and be like, oh, Azerbaijan. But I think we're becoming very much more aware now that a lot of these guys coming from that kind of area of the world don't always have the most truthful of records, is what we're beginning to discover now, is that they'll just kind of put down like an exhibition grappling match as a real fight, and that'll go on their record. So yeah, we'll see how much we trust it. I mean, 22-6, even so, you know, you could knock a couple of wins off that, and it'd still be an impressive record, to be fair. But I think Ignacio Bahamundes is probably going to get this one done. Do I think he'll get a finish? You know what? There's potential for it. Maybe, but I wouldn't put the house on it. I could see this very easily going to a decision, to be honest with you. But I do lean towards maybe an Ignacio Bahamundes submission if we're looking for the money. But honestly, I do think it's going to go to another decision. On to the next one. Terence McKinney versus Kyle Nelson. We're going with Terence McKinney. We're not even going to bother taking a look into this one. Yeah, Kyle Nelson. All right, I guess. Male Canadians just aren't that good. They're just not. Like, dudes from Canada just aren't that good. Sorry to break it to you if you're watching this from the Great White North, I believe they call it. Yeah, male fighters from your part of the world, not very good. Not very good at all. Female fighters from your part of the world, doing pretty good at the minute. Male fighters from your part of the world, no bueno. But yeah, so I'm going to rock with Terence McKinney. I suppose we'll take a deeper look into this one just for Terence McKinney. Sure, coming off a loss against Chris Duncan. But, you know, that's how it has to happen, you know. We picked Chris Duncan to win that one as well. That's just how things have to go down sometimes. You know, sometimes you run into, like, you know, Chris Duncan and you have to get picked against. You know, sometimes you run into Vladislav Borshev, and I pick Vlad. I am a fan of Vladislav Borshev, as you can tell. I'm sure you can tell. But yeah, sometimes I pick Vladislav, and he gets beat by Terence McKinney, and I'm very sad about it. But I don't hate Terence McKinney, actually. He's not the worst of the worst. He's actually pretty decent. Do I think he's going to be able to beat Carl Nelson? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I could see him beating Carl Nelson. I don't know how he'd do it. I feel like maybe a TKO is probably most likely. Is like probably hurts Kyle Nelson, and then while he's hurting, maybe he shoots, fakes a takedown. Kyle reacts to it, and then he gets beaten up. Maybe some ground and pound. Maybe he fakes it and chins him as drops him with another shot. Something like that. I could see Terence McKinney kind of getting away with a fairly unscathed, easy-ish win out of this one, and making it fast if he chooses to do so. If he so chooses. Can't speak today. Can't speak. Have a sip of Coca-Cola. You ever drink Coca-Cola from a glass bottle? It's a different flavour altogether. It's weird. Very strange. But yeah, we're going to go with Terence McKinney. Likely via TKO. I think it's going to be some TKO ground and pound action. On to the next one. We've got Mansour Abdul Malik versus Yurisi Bolagrio. Where's that? Tunisia? That is Tunisia. Okay. 9-3. I'm not too familiar with him. Everyone seems to be in favor of him though. So should I know this guy? Okay, that's actually impressive. Okay, okay, okay. Ah, but we lost to Marco Tulio. Okay, okay. We came back. I see. Okay. This guy probably legit then, yeah? Because losing the first time on Contenders, and then like going back to the drawing board, scooping up 2 wins, then coming back and winning again. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. And then you know, Bekov not the most amazing fighter in the world, but still pretty decent. And to be taking him on in your debut, that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive as well. I'm knocking him out. That's pretty impressive. Mansour Abdulmalik's a bit of a strange one. Like, depending on who you put him against, really dictates what the performance will be like. But he's not a guy that fights the level. You hear me say that about a lot of guys. This guy's a guy that fights the level. You put him in there with someone who's shit, he's going to be shit. You put him in someone who's good, he's going to be good. No, not Mansour Abdulmalik so much. Just a strange guy all around. Sometimes he'll come in and it'll be dominant and easy, and then sometimes he'll come in like he did with Cody Brundage, and it'll be a weird fucking fight. But yeah, I kind of do. I'm leaning in favor of Mansour Abdulmalik. I'll be honest with you. Got the momentum, riding high, and you've got to think, been in the UFC longer, has a better record still. You know. It's just it's just how it goes. He is out heighted, but maybe the reach will help make up for that. And again, maybe I'm choosing wrong, but I am going with Mansour Abdulmalik, and I think he's going to be able to get a TKO. It is likely it goes to a decision as well, depending on how good Balagrio is. Balagrio is. But no, I'm sticking with Mansour Abdulmalik. I think he'll get it done. Yeah, I mean, comparatively wise, better record and whatnot. It is a tough one. I don't know enough. I suppose I should admit I don't know enough about Balagas or Guri. So if you know, let me know in the comments. If you think I'm full of shit, let me know. But I do think Mansour Abdulmalik's probably going to get it done, and I'm fairly confident in that. So we're going to go with Mansour Abdulmalik. I'm thinking a TKO. Decision's always there, but TKO. Next up, we've got Julian Erosa versus Larian Douglas. I actually don't know. I feel like I've missed this one from my research because I don't recognize Douglas's name from being on this card. He's a man from LFA. He's an LFA man, and he got a knockout on Contender Series. Maybe that's why I know his name, but don't know him. But I don't remember seeing that. Maybe I just seen a highlight or something. I lean towards Julian Erosa. I don't know who Douglas is. That probably does sway my prediction a little bit. But I think getting a guy in, signing him and then putting him against Julian Erosa, who isn't like terrible. Like, look, so he lost to Melquiz El Costa, very good fighter, very very good fighter. He lost to Padilla, which I suppose isn't amazing. That was 2 years, 10 months ago. That's a good little while ago, and since then he's done pretty good against some tricky customers. Ricardo Ramos, little bit tricky, not like the best of the best, wasn't crazy good, but was a little bit of a tricky customer. Christian Rodriguez, actually a tricky customer. Tough guy to put away, tough guy to finish. So getting a submission over him, pretty good, to be fair, pretty good. And then again, Darren Elkins, the damaged Darren Elkins, being able to finish Darren Elkins is an accomplishment. I know Darren Elkins doesn't win every fight, and he has been finished before, but to actually finish Darren Elkins is a tall order. So, I do lean towards Julian Erosa, even if, he did get beat by Melquiz El Costa. I do lean towards Julian Erosa to get this one done. Again, more time in the UFC, just more proven at this highest level. So we are going to stick with Julian Erosa. I can't believe how many American flags I've gone with on this card. I would never normally do this, everybody. I'm so sorry. If you're an American who comes here because I don't pick you guys and you like to argue with me, I'm so sorry, but seems like I'm picking the Americans. Next up is Michael Chiesa versus Nico Price. I'm going to go with Chiesa. A little bit older, sure. I think he's a little bit older anyway. I'm assuming he's a little bit older. More experienced though inside the UFC, to be fair. I don't know. Here's the thing with Nico Price. Isn't he on like a 3-fight losing streak? And they're not like... Yeah, so a 3-fight losing streak. And they get worse. That was it. They get worse as they go. So he loses the decision to Dan Magrimbo. Then he gets submitted by Jacoby Smith. And then he gets knocked out by Nikolai Veretennikov. Not good. That's like every way you can lose. One after back to back to back. Not good. Whereas Michael Chiesa wasn't doing too well. Lost to Sean Brady. Lost to Kevin Holland. And then bounces back with a win over Tony Ferguson. Not the most impressive. Obviously, a decline in Tony Ferguson isn't anything to write home about, but a win is a win. And it sets him off on his momentum. He gets another win over Max Griffin. Again, not an incredible fighter to write home about, but still, he gets the win. Then he fights Court McGee, who's a bit of a strange one. Is Court McGee. I don't even think he's in the UFC anymore. I think he's been cut since this fight. I think maybe that was his last fight in the UFC. But yeah, Chiesa gets it done again over Court McGee. Not an amazing fighter once again, but a win is a win. And now we've got a decent little bit of momentum behind a 38-year-old Michael Chiesa, whereas Nico Price hasn't really got any momentum. He has been absolutely stuffed in every single way possible. So yeah, based on activity, based on momentum, we are going to go with Michael Chiesa to beat Nico Price. Maybe a submission. I could see there being a submission. I could see Michael Chiesa submitting him. Maybe just like jumping a gilly, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I want to go with Chiesa by submission. I've just got a weird feeling about it. On to the next one. We've got Alexa Grasso versus Maycee Barber. And this is our co-main event. I'm going to be honest with you. Oopsie. Who really cares? Innit? Like, who really cares? Alexa Grasso, right? Claim to fame. She beat Valentina Shevchenko. Some say Valentina was just having an off night. Some say, Valentina had been declining for a while and still is declining. And so the performances had been getting a bit more lackluster. But nonetheless, she did finish Valentina Shevchenko. Then she fought her again, and there was a split decision draw. Then they fought again, and she lost by a decision. So technically, still finished the champ, How much stock can we put in that, Probably not as much as you would like to. Not as much as Alexa Grasso would like you to put into that. A win over Valentina Shevchenko is good. In fact, it's very good. She finished her. She submitted her. But, we're not going to start claiming that fucking... I don't know. Trying to think of, like, a fluke win. I'm blanking on it now. Fucking Matt Serra. You wouldn't call Matt Serra like one of the greatest to ever do it, would you? Because he knocked out GSP one time in a fluke. So I wouldn't say that Alexa Grasso is the best ever because she submitted Valentina and then got a robbery split decision draw and then actually lost the decision. I wouldn't say she's one of the best in the world because of that. She's not bad. She's number 5 for a reason. She's not the worst of the worst. She's all right. But, since been exposed as probably was a fluke. Do I go with Maycee Barber? I kind of do feel like Maycee Barber's probably going to get it done, if we're being honest. Obviously more consistent. Yeah, it's got to be Maycee Barber, man. It's got to be Maycee Barber. What are the physical attributes, chatting? We're in a match as well. Slight reach advantage to Alexa Grasso. Not that she'll use it. So yeah, we're going to go with Maycee Barber. It's likely going to be a decision, guys. It's going to be a decision. Of course it is. It's a women's fight. And it's in the co-main event. So why would it be entertaining? And finally, it's main event time. The big one. Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. Man, Izzy's another guy who's just had it bad. I think he's lost in all of the ways as well. So he lost to Sean Strickland via decision. Absolutely shut out. Dominated decision. Unanimous decision. Flat out dominated by Sean Strickland. Then he fights Dricus du Plessis. Dricus du Plessis beats him up and then submits him. Then he fights Nassourdine Imavov. And Nassourdine Imavov chins him and finishes him. TKOs him. Not good. That is right there a very, very, very blatant, very observable decline from the once great Israel Adesanya. And you know what? I don't think he's going to suddenly just bounce back from it. You know? I think the press conferences with Sean Strickland destroyed this man. Destroyed him. And then he tried to rebuild himself with DDP, and DDP broke him back down again. And then he thought he had it nice and easy with Nasruddin Imavov. This guy don't speak very good English. And then he got whooped. And he got chinned. Okay? The aura is gone. The legacy is beginning to tarnish. Izzy should have looked to retire after getting chinned by Nasruddin Imavov. And then he could be like, you know what? I have my time in the sun. I have my time in the sun. You know? I have a win over Alex Pereira. I can go out happy. Sure, I'm going out on a 3-fight losing streak, but that just shows me that, you know, because I lost in every way possible, that just shows me that I've had a noticeable decline. Maybe my head's not in it anymore. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe I'm slowing down. You know? Maybe I just did really well in a middleweight division that didn't have any grapplers in it when I came up. Maybe my legacy is artificially inflated because of that. No, I'm you know. It is a noticeable decline. He gets chinned by Pereira. Fair enough, it wasn't clean, but he got knocked out by Pereira. Then he comes back and knocks Pereira out. Very good win. Then he loses to Sean Strickland. He gets shut out. Loses to DDP. Gets strangled. And then he gets chinned by Nasruddin Imavov. That is a noticeable decline. That is a noticeable decline. And it is since Sean Strickland. You could say it was from the Alex Pereira one, but it wasn't, because he came back and beat Alex. That was like settling a rivalry. You know, that was settling an old rivalry. And it wasn't even really a rivalry. I suppose Izzy just made it into one. But yeah. I mean, that's just how it be, right? I can see Izzy being way better than Joe Pyfer standing. But Joe Pyfer being able to just, you know, grapple is probably going to put Izzy in a massive disadvantage. But then again, Joe Pyfer ain't all that smart. And I could definitely see Joe Pyfer trying to kickbox with Izzy Adesanya. I don't know. I think if Izzy has any chance of like saving his career, he really needs to get a knockout. Like, he actually needs to chin Joe Pyfer and just end this nonsense and just bonk him unconscious. But I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I don't. Joe Pyfer's got a decent chin. Joe Pyfer's got a pretty decent chin. You know? And sure, getting outboxed and outworked by Jack Manson isn't a great look. But that was, you know, that was early on. That was 2 years and a month ago. And since then, he beat Marc-Andre Barriault. Decent win. Decision Kelvin Gastelum. Izzy nearly died fighting Kelvin Gastelum. And Kelvin Gastelum's just a fat guy. You know? Like, one of Izzy's greatest fights is fighting Kelvin Gastelum. And I know this is an older Kelvin Gastelum than Izzy had to fight. But all the same, Joe Pyfer didn't have nearly the same trouble with Kelvin Gastelum as what Izzy has. And I know, and like I said, I know it's an older Gastelum. I know Izzy was younger then, and so was Gastelum then. But yeah, I didn't see the same struggle in Joe Pyfer. You know, there was no moment. You know, the first round you get the same Gastelum. There was none of that. I know Gastelum's fell off. He's fat. He's fatselum now, isn't he? But yeah, you know, it just doesn't bode well for Izzy. It really doesn't bode well for Izzy. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Joe Pyfer. I'm going with Joe Pyfer over Izzy Adesanya. I haven't picked Izzy in his last... This would mean I haven't picked Izzy in his last 4 fights. Awkward. As to be fair, I don't think I've picked Izzy in his last 5 fights. Because I picked Pereira to beat him twice. Got the first one, not the second one. Then I picked Strickland to beat him. Then I picked Duplessis to beat him. And then I picked Nasruddin Imavov to beat him, right? It's not good, man. It's not good for Izzy. I do think this is the end of the career. Very sad to see. I know there's a lot of Izzy fans. But, you know, now that he's at the end of his career, can we all just admit that he was a bit weird? Like, I was an Izzy fan for a little bit too. You know? I like the occasional Japanese cartoon. You know? I'm a Naruto fan. I'm sure I've worn a Naruto shirt on here before. Don't build my life around it, though. You know? Don't really do that. You know? Strange guy is Izzy. Strange guy. And plus, you know, that gym, has got a bit of a scandal going on at the moment, you know, over at City Kickboxing. You know, they may be doing some different kinds of grappling over at City Kickboxing, hence why they're not good at like doing it in the cage, because they get caught up doing a different type of grappling over at City Kickboxing. The boys over at City Kickboxing, nonetheless, they're all weird over at City Kickboxing, as we've come to learn now. They are a strange group of individuals. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Joe Pyfer. I think it's the end of Izzy. I really do think it's the end of Izzy. I think he probably should have not taken this fight. I think he should have really retired and been done with it. You know, the age of the African Kings is probably done. Maybe we'll get some new guys in there that can take up the mantle again. But it's not going to be Izzy. It's not going to be Kamaru, and it's definitely not going to be Francis, is it? So that era is dead and gone. And I think Kamaru is probably the only one left from that era, which is crazy because I think he's the oldest as well. So bizarre. Nonetheless, that does conclude this prediction video. This does conclude these predictions. If you enjoyed it, leave me a like. Subscribe for more. I don't know. Comment down below if you disagree with any of my picks. You think I'm delusional. I'll be honest with you. I don't think this is too crazy of a card. It's not really going to be split in too many people. I don't think. Nonetheless, thank you very much for watching. Keep your chin down and keep swinging. Until next time, peace and love. See you around.